this is an article from a woman called Amy Souza, who, God bless her, has recently been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, which is awful. And obviously I would not wish that on anybody. That's, it's terrible. My sympathy starts to wane when I see that this woman is a TERF, or gender critical, whatever she chooses to call herself, I guess. Respect the identity or whatever. She's a cis woman and she got breast cancer, and apparently this experience has made her like double, triple down on the whole TERF of it all. So let's read her article, or we'll at least skim. Maybe we won't. I don't know. How long is the whole thing? Let's see. Scroll. Okay, yeah, no, scroll. Yep, no, it's pretty long. Okay, well, we'll see what we can do. We'll see how far we can make it into this before we start laughing. So this is her. She is, she's received chemo, which obviously that's a huge deal. Having like this treatment done, losing your hair, everything, it's a big deal. She starts. Recently, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. This diagnosis has been emotionally overwhelming, and the treatment plan has been physically grueling. Those of you who have followed me on my various social media know that my accounts focus on exposing the lies and manipulations within the gender ideology, while specifically highlighting issues of safeguarding instincts and embodiment. The instinct. This is the weirdest thing when the TERFs go like, we're wired to recognize men because it's instinctual. They're not safe. How do they I don't know how they reconcile being heterosexual. I honestly don't even know if they do at this point. Oh gosh. She says, I've purposefully avoided including details about my personal life because I want to protect my privacy. However, the current circumstances with breast cancer are compelling me to take the whole personal is political approach and use my experiences to shed new light on the values and practices of transgenderism. Please tell me more about how your cisgender experience with breast cancer sheds light on transgenderism. Oh gosh. Transgender propaganda, marketing, and so-called gender-affirming care. What's funny about this is that if she has to have a mastectomy and then has reconstructive surgery to put a new boob there, that's the gender-affirming aspect of getting breast cancer. Fascinating. But we consider this normal as a society. We consider it normal for cis people to seek gender-affirming care because, of course, if a woman gets breast cancer and she loses her breasts and she feels like less of a woman because of it, then yeah, like we consider it normal for her to want breast implants because again, cis people's gender dysphoria is not pathologized. It's considered normal, but transgender people's gender dysphoria is considered aberrant and is pathologized in that way. Friends have urged me to write about my breast cancer as a sex-specific medical issue. Again, like men get breast cancer, but whatever. I've been reluctant to publicly share because of the fear and heartache about the tumors growing in my breast. I mean, I imagine that would be scary. I personally would probably be really upset if I got breast cancer for numerous reasons. I haven't wanted to talk about how exhausting and uncomfortable it's been. Ultrasounds, MRIs, PET scans, bone scans, echocardiograms, biopsies, and the surgery for a chest port. That's like, a chest port is when they install a little thing in your chest. It's like so that you can easily get a needle stuck in there, like repeatedly, because you have to go in for treatment like every week or sometimes multiple times a week. So, and obviously, yeah, like I don't want to downplay in any situation how difficult it is to go through cancer treatment. It's terrifying. And the chance of you getting cancer again later is awful. If any of you are fans of Hank Green, I cried when he told everybody that he had cancer because I was like, oh my God, even if it's a very treatable cancer, it still changes how you live your life and it changes your potential future, your potential future circumstances, your future medical history. Also worth pointing out that, yeah, trans women get breast cancer too. Yeah, imagine realizing that you're a trans woman, taking the medicine, growing tits, and then having to have one of your tits removed because of breast cancer. Bro, I would lose it. I cannot imagine. That would be wild. But of course, again, cisgender people's feelings are more valid, don't you know? I don't want to speak about how sick I was during the rounds of chemotherapy. I don't want to publicly reveal how it feels to have my hair fall out. I haven't wanted to speak up about any of this because fighting fighting to save my breast has sparked a new passion in me to make purpose and meaning out of this personal mess. Mastectomy versus top surgery. Of course, these procedures are a little bit different, so I wonder what she's going to say about that. The surgeon and the oncologist have told me I may need to have a mastectomy, which is to say that we would need to amputate the breast. The fear, rage, and repulsion this has evoked in me has been overpowering. I am overwhelmed both with fierce love for my body, my breast, and an icy cold panic over the fact that I may lose this part of me, this part which is me, part of the wholeness of me, and I don't want to lose any of me. Yeah, again, I can imagine that's crazy. You know, it seems like, actually, the feelings that this is evoking in her are feelings of gender dysphoria. Like the intense distress that she seems to be experiencing over the idea of her losing her breast, because her breast is part of her in that way, right? And like, yeah, I think that probably trans women would feel the same way. Like, I worked hard for these boobs. Like, if I lose them, it feels like losing a part of me because I am embodying myself finally. And like, to not have that, I can imagine is very distressing, because like, I know what gender dysphoria feels like, you know, if you were to have this integral part of you removed, or if you had some part that you felt was integral that you never had the opportunity to have in the first place, as in the case of, trans men who really wished that they had been born with a penis, or trans girls who really wished that they had breasts. Like, these feelings are not alien. Hi, I'm Alexander, and this is Mitternacht. You should hit the like button and subscribe and check out the Patreon. And ooh, look at this hoodie I'm wearing. It's merch. Check it out. Links in the description. Thank you. I just think that, again, the cis person thinks that her way of seeing her body is normal. Like, is she gonna have reconstructive surgery? Because that is considered normal. I guess she only has tumors in one breast. So if she has that breast removed, then, would she grow to accept her new body? Or would she feel bad and need reconstructive surgery? Right, yeah, it seems like she should be arguing on our side, but she's not. She's trying really hard not to lose her breast. Basically, she's trying a whole bunch of treatments. She's doing both traditional and naturopathic medicine, which I think naturopathic medicine is also known as not medicine. She's been working on diet, exercise, and lifestyle, trying to fight the cancer and save the breasts. She's doing chemotherapy. She really doesn't want to lose the breast. She says, if in the end they have to take it, it will not be because I didn't do all I could to save it. I'm putting in maximum effort because, the maximum effort I know how. And because of this, it strikes me like a slap in the face how cavalier these young girls who get, quote, top surgery are with chopping off their breasts, as if their breasts are trash, as if they have no value, as if they are not a beloved part of their bodies. Babe, this is a classic case of like a person who is incapable of imagining that life is different for others. The whole point of a trans man getting top surgery is that the breasts are not a beloved part of their bodies. That the revulsion she feels at the idea of losing her breast is the same revulsion that trans men feel sometimes about having breasts in the first place, right? Yeah, imagine a person could be different from me. No, impossible. Everybody feels the same way that I do about my body. And maybe it's just like projection, like she feels that those parts are beloved, but and like, yeah, again, can't imagine that other people feel differently. The profanity of the image below is revolting and galling. I will speak more on the issues of publicity, marketing, and glamorization in part 2 of this series. I'm gonna kind of scroll past this picture pretty quickly because I don't know if I can show it. I don't think there's any actual gore in the picture, but it kind of looks like it. So I'm just gonna like swoop de whoop de whoop whoop. It's an Instagram photo from Gottmik from RuPaul's Drag Race, pictured in a hospital bed showing off a bag of like, the bag is supposed to be like bloody breasts that have been cut off, and then top surgery scars that are bright red and have glitter or sparkles on them. So I didn't actually watch the episode, but I did see that Ty Turner was speaking about this, like the top surgery look on RuPaul's Drag Race that was causing so much kerfuffle, like so much hullabaloo. I just personally hadn't looked into it yet. So this was my first time getting to see that person's outfit. Embodiment versus compartmentalization. Confronting the possible loss. Hold on, bring chat back. Confronting the possible loss of my breast is a terrifying experience. In terms of my embodiment, my breast is not just some discrete, compartmentalized, separate part of me. It is an integral part of what makes me whole. I'm so glad for you. Lots of trans men don't feel that way. Like, lots of trans men feel like the breast is like something that makes their body less their own. Like, lots of trans men would love to be able to feel fully embodied, but they feel like they have to compartmentalize this part away because it makes them feel less themselves. I rationally understand that the mastectomy is being suggested because of my health. My instinctual response is to recoil from the idea and reject it outright. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's gender dysphoria. Regardless of the necessity of this, quote, treatment, I experience the idea of it as an amputation, a severing, a cutting off of myself from myself. Yeah, again, like, I think that's awful. And I'm sure that a lot of women who go through mastectomy feel differently, like feel the same way about that. This severing is antithetical to the holistic integrity of my embodiment. I've spoken about the values of embodiment as an antithesis to the dissociative values of trans ideology. Like, okay, girl, again, trans people would love to be able to be fully embodied. That's what hormones and surgery allow for a lot of trans people. Like, it allows you to not feel like you need to dissociate because your body is not your own. That's the thing. Like, the idea that someone else could tell you that you can't get surgery, like the idea that someone else could decide for you whether or not you get to do this, you know, they're making your body not your own functionally. Yeah, there is like a serious lack of empathy here that you cannot imagine, that the revulsion you feel, like you recoil from the idea of cutting off your breast. Like, okay, that feeling is how trans men feel about having breasts sometimes. Yeah, well done crashing directly into the point and still missing it entirely. Embodiment here meaning the state of being fully occupied, to be at one with and in integrity with one's body, sense perceptions, and instincts. Okay, yeah, I mean, people talk about mindfulness, and I have kind of switched to talking about embodiment because I think mindfulness has a bad reputation. Like, I don't disagree with the concept of embodiment. I just think you can embody your body fully and also recognize that it isn't the way that you want it to be. You can love your body and want to change it at the same time. That's dialectical thinking. Like, I can love my body and fully inhabit my body and care for it and all this, while at the same time going, yeah, I do want that surgery. I'm not going to hate my body now because my body is still doing a lot of work to support me. And like, as a disabled person, it's also like, there's like this kind of conflict sometimes with your body. And I don't think that she's disabled, so this is me speaking as a disabled person, but when your body is preventing you from doing things, like when your body is preventing you from doing something you want to do or something you need to do, it can be especially difficult to feel like you can fully appreciate and love your body and like fully be in it, like in any given moment. Like, you know, you might feel like you wish that you could escape your body. Like, I do feel like the kind of uncomplicated relationship she has with embodying her body is, first of all, she's cisgender. So she can fully embody her body without there being any kind of conflict or any kind of negativity. And I think she's able-bodied, aside from like having cancer right now. Like, the fact that she is so privileged as to not experience dissonance with her body, or to not feel like her body is holding her back in some way, that her body is preventing her from being fully and wholly herself. You know, that's the kind of privilege that most people are not aware exists. And like, this is the first time in her life that she's experiencing dissonance with her body, you know, making her feel less herself. Like, the idea that this breast that she loves so much is killing her, potentially. Like, third stage breast cancer is, you know, I think fourth stage is like the last stage. Yeah, like, this is, I imagine it's quite challenging. Realizing that you're disabled is challenging. Dealing with gender dysphoria is challenging. I can't imagine personally having my own feelings of dysphoria or struggle with a part of my body that I love also being a source of medical complication. Like, I can't imagine turning that around and being like, and I hate this group of people and I'm going to double down on it. Like, all right, cool. Some of the common phrasings we use when speaking about our bodies can lead to a confused way of how we imagine our experience of embodiment. These common ways of conceptualizing our bodies are an abstraction of our direct sensory perceptions and do not accurately depict the lived reality of our experiences. These kinds of abstractions can lead to a dissociative way of thinking about ourselves, our experiences, and our bodies. Let's go. Let me drink water first. Okay. The first thing that she thinks is incorrect is we all have a body. We do not, quote, have a body because bodies are not objects that we possess. We are embodied. I think that that's a problem because I think the idea that you do not own your body is why we have the erosion of personal autonomy rights in my country. I don't know where she's from. She hasn't used any phraseologies or spellings or anything that make me think that she's British, but I don't know for sure because I haven't looked into it. But we own our bodies. You know, people are not allowed to take your organs without permission. And, you know, people shouldn't be allowed to decide legally for you what medicine you're allowed to take or what procedures you're allowed to do. Like, I do think, like, I don't disagree with the idea that, like, to an extent we are our bodies, but I think that it's kind of both. We have our bodies, we own them. It is our only possession at the end of the day that cannot be taken away from us. Unless it's Repo the Genetic Opera and then like somebody can come steal your organs if they want to. But like, yeah, I think it's both. We own our bodies and we are our bodies because at this point we can't live without our bodies. But at the same time, if you lose a leg, okay, you're still you, even though you have less body than you did before. I am a brain in a meat suit, actually. I respect you. Born in the wrong body, or conversely, no child is born in the wrong body. We are not in our bodies because bodies are not suits we take on and off. We are born as our bodies. So, I mean, okay, trans people, I don't even know if trans people invented this terminology, but this is something that we say to try to help cis people understand what's going on with us. But most of us don't feel like we were born in the wrong body. Like, that phraseology is not common nowadays. I really only see cis people bring this up when they're criticizing previous versions of trans acceptance terminology. Like, yeah, most of us don't say that anymore. She says you don't own your body because she thinks she owns your body. True. Yeah. I think, like, again, this is very privileged. Like, a lot of people who feel either gender alienation or ability alienation from our bodies, we do feel like our bodies are just a thing that we have to work around. And yes, we are born as our bodies, but like, you know, okay, my body prevents me from having as good of a work ethic as I have in my brain. But like, so there's a conflict where I feel like my body makes me less myself. This is where transhumanism comes in. Like, if you have crippling anxiety, like, that anxiety is a natural part of you. It's a natural part of your body and your brain. But like, if you feel that your anxiety is getting in the way of you getting that promotion or you getting a partner or anything, and you like take anxiety medication, like, you're using technology to become more of yourself by overcoming your nature. Like, yeah, I just, like, this is just a woman who's never felt like her body is limiting her or her body is preventing her from being her true self. Because, yeah, again, like, she's cisgender and I don't think that she's disabled in any way. I identify as a woman or identify as a man is also wrong, according to her. Bodies are not things we, quote, identify as because bodies are not projections of our inner beliefs. Regardless of any identity concepts we may mentally hold about ourselves, we are always experiencing ourselves as our bodies. I mean, I don't, like, do I really need to go in and explain for the millionth time that, like, woman and man are social categories that are built on the biological categories? Like, how many times do I have to say in my career that the problem with TERFs is that they are not capable of extricating the biological from the social? you know, like they cannot break them apart. Yeah. The biological essentialism. You don't own your body because you are your body sounds like it's trying to be deep, but it just sounds like a meaningless distinction to me. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Thorns Have Roses says, I was born as a person that believes they would have been happier being born in a body that does not match the one I am stuck using. My only option is tuning or upgrading parts on this vessel. Yeah, like trans people definitely experience our bodies. We definitely know that they are ours, and we just would like to change them so that they allow us to fully embody better, in the same way that this woman doesn't want to change her body because it currently helps her embody herself fully. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Rather than these statements, it's most accurate to describe our relationship with our bodies by saying we are our bodies. Our bodies are the foundation of all our experiences. I mean, so are our brains. That's the thing too about this. They always ignore the brain as part of the body. Like if your brain is causing you to experience something, then that is also part of your embodied experience. If your brain has an idea of what your body is supposed to be like and your body doesn't match that, then like which supersedes? Like which is more your body? The thing like that you have down here or the thing that you're experiencing up here? Like is the brain not also part of the body? Yeah, really too bad for her. She's going to have to change her body. It's really sad. We are always subjectively and particularly situated and engaged with our bodies. Yeah, okay. We are never not experiencing our embodiment. I mean, yeah, sure. There is no separation between me and my body. Again, like that is just not how some people experience it. If you sever my breast, you are severing me. I do not say this in judgment of the medical necessity of women like myself who may require life-saving mastectomies, or against anyone who may need a life-saving surgery that requires a body part amputation. I say this to honor the emotional toll of this kind of procedure. It is natural to love and protect our bodies as ourselves, and it is natural to feel fear and pain if we lose a part of ourselves. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that on its face. It's natural for others to respond in empathy to another's. If a person loses a limb, eye, organ, or even a baby toe because of an accident, disease, or violence, this should evoke in others a natural empathetic wince response. Movies depicting war, medical crises, or natural disasters understand exactly this empathetic response. They play on our natural emotional responses to another person's pain. These empathetic responses are beyond our conscious willing. We do not have to mentally rethink to ourselves, that person is hurt. What might it be like to feel that pain? The response is an instantaneous, sensed physical embodiment of their pain. Oh, great. Oh, I was so ready for her to go here. When breast amputation is sold as, quote, top surgery as opposed to mastectomy, it is a subversion of the natural empathetic wince response. Rather than seeing the procedure as a loss of the whole, it is marketed as gender affirming, by which we should understand that this is ego affirming. Okay, going into Freud now, it is a superficial body modification to placate vanity, image, and mental conception of self. She has just contradicted herself. Because if she's saying up here that severing my breast is severing me, but she also is down here saying that getting a gender affirming surgery is a superficial body modification, like she seems to be placing them in two different categories where like she, like, I mean, I guess it's a little bit better than her saying that a trans man is severing part of themselves by removing part of their body. But I mean, it's really just that she's trying to portray it as vain, image-oriented, and denigrating the concept of a mental conception of self, like, which again is just a very privileged, cisgender, able-bodied point of view. Like, yeah, kind of where I was expecting her to go with that, I guess, was for her to say, that when she sees that someone has gotten top surgery, she has this empathetic wince response. But that's not empathy. Like, if you understood how that person felt about getting this affirming surgery, like, I wonder, does she feel like men who were born without breasts are like missing part of themselves, and like that they're like should a cis man grow breasts in order to feel like fully affirmed in their body? Or like, again, is it normal for cis men to want to have flat chests? And it's aberrant for trans men to want to have flat chests. The overlap of idiot and TERF is just a circle. Listen, there are some idiots who aren't TERFs, okay? It's more like a rectangle square situation. Oh my God. So yeah, also she just spent the entire thing talking about how much she thinks her breast is a part of herself, her actual self. How is she saying that that's not vain and image oriented? How is that not superficial? The idea that her womanhood is like so integrally wrapped around having breasts, like why is that not superficial? Why is that not vain and image oriented? Why does she feel like she's any less of a woman if she gets a breast cut off? It's because it's gender dysphoria. It's the same feeling that trans women have when they don't have breasts. Again, so-called gender-affirming care treats human beings as a series of Lego separates that can be taken apart and put back together rather than as an embodied whole. I mean, listen, it's really cool, the idea that you can just mix and match. I actually know somebody who wants to have a gender-affirming one boob mastectomy, like because they're non-binary. They want one boob and then they want the other boob to get removed. Like, interesting. You know, that is embodiment for some people. That is ideal for some people. It's weird because I, as a trans woman, find myself feeling the same way she does about her womanhood in relation to her body. Yeah, like that going on estrogen and growing breasts and having all those changes, like that is becoming, like that is embodiment for a trans woman. And like, yeah, it's the same. Shock and scare tactics, the underlying value of this sales pitch, talking about non-binary surgeries. Oh, she's on the page for nullification. Isn't that great? Clients can mix and match surgeries like a Build-A-Bear workshop, removing and adding body parts to fit an abstracted and dissociated image of oneself. She just, again, is incapable of empathy. Like the idea that like this is embodiment for them, that not having these procedures is the dissociated image. Like she's going to feel dissociated from her body if she needs to have that mastectomy done. And like, she's still not going to connect the dots that that's what trans people feel like before they get those procedures done. Some people want one giant boob in the middle of their chest. The uniboob. That's kind of what happens if you have really big boobs and you try to wear a binder. It's kind of like you just get the uniboob. It's pretty funny. I mean, it's really frustrating actually, but amusing in this context. The cult of gender preaches the ideology of dissociation, but we are fully embodied whole human beings. Our bodies are not just a part of our humanity. Our bodies are our humanity. It is insane to act as if our bodies are inanimate sleeves that hold no meaning for us. I mean, honestly, I feel like trans people's bodies, when we go through transition and the way that we want to, like our bodies hold more meaning for us than some cis people's bodies because we had to actually work for it. We had to actually go through a process of becoming. We had to go through a process of evolution. Yeah, we have a cult. True. As if like projecting your own feelings about your own body and like teaming up with a bunch of people to harass trans people and tell us that we somehow don't have an accurate view of our bodies isn't like weird and culty. If she needs a mastectomy, she probably should go for therapy, but not before the surgery. We're not monsters. Yeah, we wouldn't gatekeep her life-saving surgery behind therapy like many transphobes think that they should be able to do. Let's just gatekeep life-saving surgery behind years of therapy. Let's do it. Oh yeah, so I'll just call attention here. Nullification is like when you have your genitals like basically removed. You can still pee and everything, but like they get rid of it and you have a smooth genital area like a Barbie. Panectomy is just a removal of penis. Zero-depth vaginoplasty is when they create a vulva, but they don't give you like an internal canal. You just have like the external appearance of like, that's a vulva and a clitoris. Orchiectomy is the removal of testicles. Non-binary chest surgery usually is like a breast reduction or maybe a mastectomy, but they place the nipples in a location that is less standard for top surgery, like chest masculinization. They usually make the nipples smaller and then they put them where cis men usually would have them. But non-binary top surgery kind of has like, you can maybe leave the nipples big and then like put them in a place that's like more centered in the chest instead of out to the sides. Anyway, it's really cool. Like the number of different things that you can do is pretty amazing. The very word nullification is a cutting off from sensation. I mean, you can still have sensation. It's just under the smoothness. I mean, listen, sensation as guidance. All animals, including humans, are born with the adaptive tools to survive in the world, including things like medicine and surgery. Wow. The The basis of these tools rests in our embodiment and our ability to respond to the sensations we feel. Sensations are information. Sensations are also feelings, both physical and to cut ourselves off from sensation is to cut ourselves off from our adaptive capacities. I mean, she's zeroing in on genital nullification here in a weird way. Fascinating. Trans ideology and, quote, gender affirming care is a subversion of the natural pain/pleasure response system. What? When pain is equated with authenticity, this dissociates the subject from being able to be attuned and responsive to their instinctual guidance system. Listen, I think most of us would agree. If you're trans in the chat, let me know if you agree with this statement. I don't want to have surgery, but I want to have my body, right? Because I am sort of the opinion that, like, I don't really want to have surgery. I'm not equating the pain of surgery with authenticity. Like, it's not that, like, I'm psyched about having surgery. I just want to have the body that I want. And that involves necessarily going through a surgical, like this. This woman has never listened to a trans person in her life. She's just inventing and imagining all these different things and assuming that her imagination is accurate to what people are experiencing. Like, you know, the idea that it's like, I need to go through surgery and have a painful recovery and be unable to lift my arms for 6 weeks in order to really be myself. Like, oh my God, I really need this procedure in order to finally be myself. It's like Ollie London with his millions of procedures on his face. I want surgery, TBA. I mean, like, I'm not excited about the prospect of going under general anesthesia or being in a hospital or having to stay in a hospital as I'm recovering from surgery. Like, I can find things about that process to be excited about. Like, I can find good things in it, but it's a necessary step if I want this certain type of embodiment, you know? Yeah, like, if we could do it by magic, most of us would, because we would rather not deal with the pain. That's not the goal, but it's like, yeah, you naturally have to go through this in order to, like, if you want to have no boobs, you have to have a surgery. There is no bra of holding that will just make the tits go away. Does her argument around sensory embodiment imply that blind and deaf people are incomplete? That's what I'm saying. There's so much ableism in this as well. I value my life experience, but if I did have a magic button that would let me retroactively change my physical form, I would press it so fast. Right. It would be great if we could just snap our fingers and then look at that, we have our bodies. But yeah, like, it's a trial we go through in order to fully embody. Thank you, Zypation, for the gifted tier 1 sub. Prosy Rosie, enjoy your dicks. All right. Yeah, thank you so much. Great to get some donations in. Brings us up to 1638 for today. Look at that. That £5 really threw us off. Yeah, I cast gender affirmation. Like, let's all become wizards, I guess. Okay, that's basically the end of the article. I plan to write a number of essays on this topic. And then she's like, I'm going to be exploring some more issues. Man, I don't think I've ever wanted somebody to lose to cancer as badly as I do right now. Oh man. It would be one thing if they kept their feelings to themselves. It would be one thing if they kept it private. It's like, why don't you just focus on the struggle that you're going through right now? Why don't you just focus on getting better? I'm sure that obsessing about trans people is not going to help your recovery here. Like, why don't you just focus on your own and shut the up about what other people are doing with their lives? Okay, so we could cash cow this lady for months. Part 2 is going to be glamorization of breast amputation and marketing self-harm. Part 3 is going to be gleeful dissociation and giddy post-op girls. And by girls, she means trans men and non-binary people. And then part 4 is going to be surgeons speak on mastectomies versus top surgeries. Wow, it's almost like they're 2 different procedures done for 2 different reasons. Like, with when you get top surgery, they leave some of the breast material there because they're creating a certain masculine shape. I mean, most of the time it's a masculinizing procedure. With a mastectomy for cancer, you end up with a slightly caved in chest because they have to remove all of the breast tissue, you know? Anyway, just why don't you try to imagine what it's like for other people to have different experiences than you? I think is kind of the long and short of this. Like, I am so sorry that you have cancer. I'm sure that that's terrible. I have had a complicated relationship with my body But if I got breast cancer and I had to have a mastectomy, I would be very upset. Not because I feel like that is an inherently gendered part of me or whatever, but like it is part of my body. I had to work to accept. I mean, that's the thing that probably would be the most upsetting, is that I have had to work to figure out how I feel about my body. And I've had to work to realizing that my gender is not less valid, because unlike many transmasculine individuals, I don't want to have top surgery. And like the idea that I would be forced into it. There was a time in my life where I kind of did wish that I got breast cancer, because then I could get top surgery and, you know, not have to feel conflicted about it. But yeah, like I worked to accept my gender, that I am non-binary, that there are loads of people who wish that they had itty bitty titties like me in order to like be androgynous and be able to choose which gender presentation they go with. Like I did, you know, so I could see it being upsetting if I was like, now the choice is taken away from me, you know? But yeah, I feel like if I had breast cancer, I would like the last thing I would want to do is think about transphobes. Whereas this transphobe has cancer and she is using it as an opportunity to attack trans people for them seeking embodiment. Like trans people seeking embodiment is a bad thing to her because she views it as a type of dissociation. I really kind of hope that she has to have the tit cut off so that she can understand why someone might have surgery in order to affirm their gender. But she's never going to see it that way. Like, she's never going to see anything that she's doing as gender affirming because she views it as different somehow than sex-based medicine. Whatever. Anyway. Last month was Pride, now it's time for Wrath. Thank you so much to my patrons, including Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Jack, Amanda B., Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Danielle McDonald, DZXN, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Pasnell Infinity, Suzanne Maynard, Sojo, Jamie Jam, Dizzy Quiche, Jericho, Kevin Young, Liam Hodgson, Athiette, Elevie Nobody, Mr. Atheist, Elizabeth Bartell, Celeste, Nova, and Michelle Frattaroli.